Okay, so the purpose of this video is to give you an insight into the very basics of MOTOTRBO software, which is used with any of the DP or DM series radios from Motorola under the MOTOTRBO brand name. So if you're a radio ham, you've probably got a 4800, a 4801, 4800E, 4801E. If you've got a DP 3400 or a 3600, these principles work as well. And then you may be a little bit more creative, and you might have got yourself a SL4000 or an SL4010. And throughout the course of this video, I'll probably just explain the differences between them. So this video is mainly targeted, I suppose, at radio hams, but also people who just want to program their own radios. So we'll start with the basics and then we'll move on from there. So at the very, very top, the first thing that will happen when you download the MOTOTRBO software is that you will have a file or a download that looks like this. This is in fact a zip file. What gives that away is the fact that it's got a little zip icon. If you look closely enough, there's a little zip there. But the reason I'm telling you that is that this is a huge file. So first of all, download the software to your downloads folder before you try and do anything else. But the most important thing that you don't do is this. Now I just double clicked on that because, and the reason I double clicked on that is because it looks like a folder. When you first download a zip file to Windows 10, 7, XP, etc., it always just looks like a folder. It's quite misleading. But it's not a folder, it's a zip file. So what we actually need to do is right click on it and click this link, which is extract all. Leave the box ticked and let it extract to the folder it chooses, which it will automatically open. That's why it says show extracted files when complete. I've got a relatively fast computer here. If your computer's not quite that fast, it might take 2 or 3 minutes to do this. But all it's doing is extracting all those files so that now they are in a folder of their own, and we can now start the installation of MOTOTRBO software. I've got 16. Okay, you might get a Windows Defender Smart Screen error. I'm glad this came up because this is a live video, so I can't edit it. Sometimes Windows doesn't want to install MOTOTRBO because it thinks that there might be something in it that's not legit or whatever. It's perfectly fine. You saw what I did. Click there, it'll open this little thing, and click the run anyway. That's fine. So give it a 20 seconds or so. Obviously it's only took a few seconds on my computer, it's relatively fast. It comes up with this. So if you just copy these steps that I'm showing you now to install it, there's quite a lot for it to install, so this is going to take some time. But the thing it's going to install first, of course, is probably MOTOTRBO software, but then it's got all this stuff to install, which is a lot of the dependencies that MOTOTRBO needs, because MOTOTRBO is written in .NET. It needs all these Visual C++ and all this sort of stuff to go with it. So we'll click install and let it go ahead and do that. Again, I do apologise if it takes a long time, but this is a live video and I've got no way of editing it. It's going straight on YouTube as I'm speaking to you. While it's doing this, I might as well tell you that if you click the subscribe button on YouTube and then you click immediately after that, if you click the little bell icon to the right, YouTube will actually send you an email the next time we upload a video. So if that's of interest to you, please do that. Also, I just wanted to have a little shameless plug here. Radiotronics is the company that I work for, and we are one of the leading radio suppliers in the country of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, and we also deliver to the Republic of Ireland next day. But we have one of the largest selections of two-way radios and one of the most usable websites that we've sort of come across. So if you are looking for anything, whilst that's installing, I might as well show you that we have a really good selection of two-way radios. And if Motorola's your thing and you're really into Motorola, then you can just select Motorola from the list and it'll give you all the radios that Motorola sell. We stock every single one of them, and we stock lots of them as well, so they're always in stock. But another thing, if you're a radio ham, we have a category dedicated to you. We try and keep it updated, but by all means, if you have any suggestions, we'll add it to the category if you think that it would help any of your friends. This is the category, it's ham DMR radios. And what this category is for you guys. But our big promise here is that we do support the ham community, and we will give you free programming software, absolutely free of charge, free programming software when you buy any one of these radios that are in this category. One of our best sellers for the ham guys is this base station. This is a Motorola DM4600E. It's the latest version of the DM3600, which is now discontinued. It's the replacement for that. We also sell a lot of this. Get this one here. This is a 4800E, and it also has a full keypad, just like the DP3600 did. But you know, it's a good category. You should probably bookmark this. So I'll link to this in the video description so you can have a look. If you're programming your own radios, and you buy a radio off us, and all it has to be is one, you get the programming software absolutely free. The cheapest Motorola DMR radio that we recommend at the moment is probably this one here, the DP4400E. But anyway, back to the software. No, it's still going. Let's talk about some other stuff. One of the things that Radiotronics also does is on our website, which is quite cool, is if you click on any products at all, well, in theory, if you click on any product, it's a little... while the software is installing, it might be slowing my computer down, which is irony because it said it was fast earlier, didn't I? But it appears to be waiting. Let's see what this is doing. Oh, it's still installing Microsoft C++ thing. But anyway, we have for the DP series, we have a really good aftermarket cable. I'll tell you about that in just a second, because what I really wanted to show you was our accessories section of our site. One thing that our marketing team has worked really hard on is the accessories section on Radiotronics, and it's something that we're particularly proud of, because the way that we've presented it is we've tried to incorporate it into every page. So if you visit any page on our website, this one for example, I'll show you it in a second, but we're just this MOTOTRBO software is still installing. You can, on any page of our website, it seems to have loaded now, of course, you know, you can see the product and then you can select the options, so whatever works for you. And you can also get, here's something, you can get £20 off a 6-way charger with any 6 radios. Any 6 Motorola radios, you get £20 off a 6-way charger. So if you are building a fleet of radios, keep that in mind. Oh, and by the way, at Radiotronics, if you speak to any of the account managers in the office, that £20 off that charger doesn't mean that you have to buy 6 radios today. What it means is that you have to have bought 6 Motorola radios off Radiotronics to get £20 off a 6-way charger. So that would apply if you bought 6 radios over 6 years. We'd still give you the 20 quid, but you just have to buy the 6th radio before you get the 20 quid. Anyway, but that's worth knowing, just in case you were building a fleet or whatever. And then we have this little section here. This is just an easy link to the accessories page, which is a dedicated page for accessories on Radiotronics for that. But you'll see that it says Motorola DP4400E accessories, which is pretty good. And then if we keep going down, actually, there's a bit about the lineup there, which is really good for you. There's a little bit about what this particular radio does, and this particular section is different for every different radio that Motorola sells. We've written a specific part of the page for everyone. But if we keep going, you get the warranty options, so you can choose whether you want anything happens kind of warranty, and some people go for that. And then there's the license options. Obviously, as a radio ham, it might not be important to you because you've probably got ham license. But as a business radio user, These are the two licenses that are really important. So either Simple UK, which you can buy off us, again £75 for 5 years, and that allows you to use your radio anywhere in Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And Simple Site allows you to use your radio pretty much anywhere within a few hundred yards of your building. So those two, they're really important to you if you are a business. There's some technical information, but here's where it gets interesting. So we've come down to this part of our page. This page is quite long, but since we all browse on tablets these days and we kind of just throw the page upwards with our finger, it kind of works. So we've got a nice little section of batteries. We stock absolutely every battery for every radio, and I mean every battery for every radio. So even the more obscure ones, for example, this is a 3000 mAh battery that works with the E series, which is, if anybody doesn't know, the E series is just, so for example, a DP4400E, which is what this is. So this is a DP4400E. That is exactly the same radio as a DP4400 with a few improvements and a letter E on the end, as you can see there. There are a few improvements, and I'll go through that on a future video or another video where we talk about the differences between the non-E series and the E series. But we'll come back to that another time. There are some differences and some improvements which are well worth having. So, like I was saying, we have this accessory section full of batteries. Please excuse the lack of images. As products are added to our website, we kind of go and catch up and then have the images later. So these are new products, I think. That one certainly is. Anyway, and then you've got a selection of antennas, and this is for every product on Radiotronics, by the way. Then you've got a selection of chargers. Then you've got, this is interesting. We've got a page on our site, and I'll link to it in the video description. We've got a page on our website all about Impress and what it really, really, really does. And it is absolutely phenomenally good. There's a piece of software that goes with it. You can buy harnesses that allow you to connect. So here you'll see this is the cable that you need for this particular charger, and you'll see you connect it like that. But you can keep track of all of your batteries for the DP series, which is really quite good. But I'll go through that in a future video as well. So if you're looking for any of these videos and you're looking and it's after today, then click onto our channel on YouTube and look at all the videos, because there'll be a video there with the Motorola Impress software, a demonstration of that. We've also got a demonstration of MOTOTRBO software in the coming weeks, which is really good. It's a full bench demonstration which will show you it working through a repeater, which is quite interesting, particularly for a facilities manager who's looking for keeping track of their staff. That's quite good. Anyway, as we move on, interestingly, this is the new DP series charger, by the way. It was only released a month ago, so that might be worth a look for you. I will link to this page, this DP4400 page, which you can have a look at this page yourself, but it's really quite good. But the reason I was showing you this page is that it is quite well organised. We've done, we've worked really hard on this. But you can buy from our website. You can either, you can buy the programming software. If you don't buy a radio from us, you can buy the programming software for a reasonable price. But I was going to show you this. So Motorola make a cable which is the PMKN 4012, and it's 4166 plus VAT. We do a cable that we've had designed. It's not fair to say it's the same, because of course it's not. But it is an aftermarket version, and it's only £20, and we do keep it in stock, and you can pay by PayPal, and delivery is free, and so that's pretty good. We also have a service manual. We do charge £1 for this, and the reason that we charge £1 for this is just to cover our own sort of costs of administration, really. And then finally, one of the things you get with this software, and I will show you it in a few minutes, is you get a driver, but it doesn't always install itself. If for whatever reason that doesn't work for you, and the driver doesn't work, and your radio won't be recognized in Device Manager or Control Panel, you could download this radio driver absolutely free of charge from our website, just by adding it to your cart, continuing checkout. It's free of charge. There's no charges on that, and then that way you've got the radio driver as well. So, and I'll link to this particular page in the in the video description, so that if you've already got the MOTOTRBO software and it didn't quite install right and you didn't get the driver, you can download it from our site for free. Right, let's see if this software is installed. Oh, well, installation program. Click yes to restart now, or no to restart later. Well, we're going to click no, because we don't want to restart now, because obviously this video will end and it is a live video, so we don't want that. Let's have a quick look. Did it install the software? It didn't. Looks like we're going to have to restart. Let's see how this works. This is a first for me. During a live broadcast, I've never restarted a computer. Let's see what happens. No, I don't want to do that. So first thing we want to do is sign out. And then let's click here and click. You can't restart without updating. That's a bit of a... Okay. Well, you're going to have to watch my computer update. It is a virtual machine, and I've said this in previous videos, and I'll say it in future videos. I always recommend using a virtual machine when programming radios, because you get an absolute clean install of Windows. That is so important because MOTOTRBO, Hytera software, some of Kenwood's software installs ancillary software, as in software libraries that you don't even know are there. You don't know they're installing them. They don't tell you they're installing. Well, MOTOTRBO clearly just did tell us that, but you don't know they're installing them some of the time. And so sometimes they can conflict with each other, which is really quite annoying. But you know, that's just the way it is. And but I find that if you have a fresh copy of Windows on a virtual machine, you can usually pretty much program radios pretty much error free or issue free at the very least. Probably never going to be error free. Anyway, here we are. Machine's starting up again. I've no idea what's happening next. I'm assuming that what's going to happen next is that it's going to install MOTOTRBO, or we're going to go through the installation process again. Let's have a quick look in Task Manager and see what it's doing, just to make sure that it's not trying to run something that that we're just about to run anyway. So we might as well let it happen. Oh, here we go. Look at that. So actually, yes, it was just about to run that. We're not in the United States, but that's the only option of English that we have. And this is what will happen to you, I suppose, if you've got a fresh copy of Windows and you don't have Microsoft redistributable libraries. You'll have to restart your computer. So let's continue. Oh, requirement pending. Oh gosh, this takes a while, doesn't it? So when you're installing MOTOTRBO, expect to wait a while. At the very least, a while. It's took us what? So how long has this video been streaming so far? We've been going 18 minutes. So we've been going 18 minutes, and it's now installing. So whatever it was doing before, it's clearly done. But we've been going 19, nearly 19 minutes now, and we're only just onto the installation stage of MOTOTRBO software itself. Anyway, it looks like, make sure that no one. Yeah, it's very important, this, by the way. I just want to mention this. When you're installing MOTOTRBO, it is incredibly important that you uninstall any previous version of MOTOTRBO. For some reason, it doesn't upgrade itself very well, so it's better to just get rid of the old one. Just remove it and start from scratch with the latest one. This is version 16. I'm not sure if it's latest build. It doesn't really matter for the purposes of a demonstration anyway. But hopefully it'll install nicely. Now I want to say something else. This is actually the standalone version. Now standalone doesn't mean portable. We've had a few facilities managers and security managers who in the past have said to us, does that mean I can put it on a USB stick and plug it into my computer at home? Well, I'm afraid the answer to that is absolutely not. There's two problems with MOTOTRBO. A, you can only install it on one machine, well, legally anyway. And secondly, if it installs DLLs into the System32 folder on Windows, which is like a shared folder that all other programs use, and unfortunately it doesn't keep them in its own folder, so you can't just copy and paste it onto a USB stick. Anyway, here it is. So MOTOTRBO is now installed, 19 minutes and 58 seconds later, and let's boot it up. Usually it says something clever like Hello Moto, but this is a this is a virtual machine, so it's not going to say that. Anyway, right then, so what you get with MOTOTRBO is some sample files. So the first thing when you open it, if you click open, it'll actually open the program and plonk you in this folder, which is Programming Files x86 Motorola MOTOTRBO CPS /samples or /samples as it is on Windows. And you can pick up any one of these files, so there's quite a lot of them here. For the purposes of this, let's pick up a 4801E, which is actually the GPS version of the 4800. We have got a forthcoming video coming where one of our marketing guys is going to do a product comparison between all of the DP series radios. But for now, if you want to have a quick look, on our website here, we have a link which is the top left hand side of the home page, and if that's changed by the time you're looking at this video, you can either click here or you can click radios, and then you can click onto the Motorola Solutions logo and you get to the same page. So if that for whatever reason the web people have redesigned our website and that link's not there on the home page, you can get there by clicking radios and clicking Motorola. Right, anyway, we have this page here which is really quite smart. We spent a lot of time on this page designing it and making sure it was really presentable and really good, and you'll see that it counts up from the bottom to the top. So it goes DP 1400, then you've got the 2400, the 2600, they're considered the 2000 series for obvious reasons. Then you've got the 4000 series starting with the 4400, 4401, 4601, 4600, 4601, 4800, 4801. Then these are the micro versions of those radios, so they're the 3441 and 3661. Although the 3661 is a micro version of the 4601 because it has Bluetooth and GPS, but it's a limited keypad only. Anyway, moving on. Then you've got the SL1600, the SL2600, and the SL4000. The reason I haven't, the reason that the SL4010 isn't on this is because the SL4010 is the same radio as an SL4000, but it allows an option board to be put in it to put some specialist software. Since we don't write software, we don't stock that radio, and therefore we don't actually sell it. We can get it if it's needed. We can order it on demand from Motorola, but most of the time nobody really wants it, and it's a bit more money as well. So if you're going to buy an SL4000, you don't need an SL4010. Anyway, this little paragraph or this little sentence here explains the difference between the 00 and a 01. So only MOTOTRBO radios ending in 01 have GPS, Bluetooth, and man down. Here's something else, by the way. GPS, Bluetooth, and man down. GPS and Bluetooth are included for free with radios that end in 01. And that includes these guys here. Well, it's actually radios that just end in 1 because that one's got it as well. But that means that the radios that have got GPS and Bluetooth is this one here, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And man down is also included, but the difference is that man down actually requires an activation key from Motorola, which does have a charge. Last time I looked, I think it was about 40 quid. About 40 pounds. So you know, it's not cheap, but at the same time, if you don't need it, you don't need it. One more thing about GPS. GPS is absolutely useless to you unless you have some sort of software like this, for example, which is called TurboNet, connected to a repeater or a base radio. When I say a base radio, it's a mobile radio, a vehicle radio, connected to a power supply and then connected to this software, which can actually receive a signal from your radio and tell this software what the longitude and latitude, so that's coordinates of your radio, are. So in essence, you don't really need GPS unless you've got software like this. You don't really need Bluetooth unless you're going to buy a Motorola Bluetooth accessory, because whilst Motorola Bluetooth, the Bluetooth in Motorola radios is just Bluetooth, because there's no such thing as not just not Bluetooth is Bluetooth, it's a standard. The only accessories that appear to work correctly with these Motorola radios are Motorola Bluetooth accessories. I'll just give you an example of those very quickly. So we have a section on our website called information. We have a solutions section, which is quite good. It's worth a read. But the product I was going to show you is this one. This is the Motorola wireless microphone. It works with mobile radios, and it also works with any Bluetooth enabled radio. So for example, any of the 01E radios, so that one, you know, the 4000. If you're a radio ham, you're probably going to be buying the 4801E or the 4800E. So you've got this kind of wireless microphone, not that one, no, there we are, wireless microphone that you can kind of use with that. It's a lot of money, but it's crucial if you're in a vehicle and you need to leave your vehicle and spend 20-30 yards away from your vehicle and continue talking on the radio. It's absolutely crucial, and it really is good. But I'm not sure quite how useful it would be to you as an owner of one of these radios. But you know, the page is there. I'll link to it in the video description. It's worth a look. And yeah, so right, so we don't need to talk about ATEX in this particular video, and the analog radios are not really relevant because we're talking about digital. DP means digital portable. So we're talking about Motorola digital portable radios here. So back to the software. We opened, if you remember, I'll just go and look again. We opened the 4801 code plug, which you can see there. The word code plug means data file, but Motorola called it code plug a long time ago, and it's just stuck. Other manufacturers do not call it code plug, they call it data file. So if you ever, you know, code plug really is a radio communications dealer lingo. If you're ever talking to a manufacturer who is not Motorola, they probably won't call it a code plug. So the biggest thing and the most important thing about DMR radios is the thing in this section. Okay, so the radio name is literally a synonym. It's just a name. It's a handle. You could call it anything you want to. You could call it name your business. So if you were called, you know, I don't know, Steve's Motors or whatever, you could just do that. Now, just taking a drink of water. This is a live video, so I can't really pause. Radio ID. On a DMR network, every radio ID has to have a different ID. Sorry, every radio has to have a different ID. There's a good reason for this. This radio ID works as a phone number. Now, given that it's your radio system, it's your own private radio system, it doesn't matter what that radio ID is. It can be one. But as long as no other radio has one, it can be whatever you want. So let's leave it as one. Now, just to make this work, and I mean just to make this work, in this demo, we're going to create one channel, and that's it. And then that's how you would create back-to-back radios that would talk to each other. That's it. So the first thing we need to set up are our contact list. Now, what's closed 5-tone, MDC, quick cut? We don't need any of this lot, and we don't really need Capacity Plus. Capacity Plus is a quasi-type trunking system from Motorola that is absolutely phenomenally good. But for this particular video, it's not really relevant. Okay, so right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we've got a digital group, and I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to create a new one so you can see what the options are. So the options are they're in the wrong order. So the options start at the top with all call, then private call. All call does what it says. It calls on this DMR frequency across all groups. It pretty much ignores groups. It doesn't actually ignore groups, but for the purposes of this, it ignores groups. Private call is a call between two individual portable radios, don't have to be portable, but two individual DMR radios. And then a group call is obviously what it sounds like. It's a call between a group of people, and that's what we would usually use for a channel, because that would differentiate itself from another group, which you could have potentially on the same frequency, on a different slot, for example. So let's for example do two group calls, and we'll for this we're going to delete the original that we had there, and then we're going to rename this one. We're going to rename this, and we'll call it channel 1. Well, let's do it again, and we're going to call this channel 2. Okay, we're not going to call it channel 1 because it's going to confuse it too much. Let's call it group 1 and group 2. Now, as I said, these were group, not private. Then we've got those two, and so group 1, we'll leave it just to have the ID as 1. That's perfectly fine. This one we'll leave it to have the ID of 2. That's perfectly fine as well. Then we need to go to our RX group lists, and list 1 should have group 1, and let's create another one, and list 2 must have group 2. So all we're doing here, I said we're going to create one channel earlier. We'll create two, but we'll create the same channel on two different slots. How DMR works is we've got a page on the website that's really, really good at explaining this. So there's a section on our site, and our site is always under development. So it's well worth subscribing to our mailing list and getting information about the new pages that we release on our site, which are really good. Anyway, analog versus digital radios, and this has a little section on it which explains how this works. So TDMA, which is called time division multiple access, means that you get two slots, and it doesn't mean that you cut the frequency in half. I know that it seems like that's what you should do, and in theory you could, but you'd have to space those two frequencies. So we have a 12.5 kilohertz frequency, typically issued by Ofcom, and typically that is, not always, and in theory you could slice it in half and have a 6.25 kilohertz frequency, and some radio systems work like that. For example, ICOM's NXDN, Kenwood's Next Edge, which is sort of the same thing, sort of. But the problem with that is that you've then got to split those. You've then got to have some sort of space in between those two. You can't just sit them side by side. So realistically, you can't fit 6.25 kilohertz twice into 12.5 kilohertz because you need some separation between them. So how TDMA works is that you have time slots, and essentially you can fit two virtual channels into one physical frequency, which is really good. That's really, really good. And it means that one repeater gives you two channels, and you can have two completely different conversations between two completely different teams. So in order to achieve that, and we create two groups, two different IDs, as you see there, two different IDs, two receive lists, so RX group lists, and all that means is that in list 1 we're going to listen out for and only listen out for group 1, and in list 2 we're going to listen out for and only listen out for group 2. Then we move on to the channels. Now again, ignoring the channel pool, and let's just delete that, and we've already got one digital channel, but we're going to add a second. So you'll see that you've got channels. In channels you've got one zone, and you've got channel 1 and 2. Let's double click on channel 1, and here we are. Right, so the first thing we need to do is I'll just say at this point that there are more options than this. In MOTOTRBO software, you have two different view modes. One's basic and one's expert. The reason I'm not going to switch to expert mode at the moment is because I don't need anything in expert mode to make what I'm showing you work. And it would overcomplicate things. I will switch to expert mode just to show you, and I'm going to switch straight back. You see here that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 options. All of those options are more than what we need for this particular tutorial. But anyway, so we go to expert mode. And those 7 options turn into a lot of options. A lot of options indeed. And then also a lot more options kind of down here. So what we'll do is we'll go back to basic mode. But one thing I do recommend that you do is explore the program, to put it in expert mode and have a little look around. Always save your work, but it's well worth you learning the things that all these things do. I'll probably do a more advanced video at a later date explaining what every single one of these individual features are and how they work. But for today, let's go back to basics. We didn't set up a scan, so we need to just ignore that. We're not using the radio in dual capacity direct mode, so we ignore that. The color code can remain being 1. It doesn't really matter. You can make that. You can put that color code whatever you want. It's your radio fleet. The repeater time slot for channel 1. So I'll just slide down here so you can see. The repeater time slot for channel 1 in this particular configuration should be 1. Let's assume that we're setting this up on Simple UK. Let's try that again. 2.5. Okay, that still didn't work. Delete. What is going on? Got an odd 449.3125. You gotta love live videos. 3, 1, 2. There we go. Now, what I did then is I clicked the copy button in the middle. It didn't do anything. Oh, why? Right, 449.3125, which is the first channel, the first UHF channel on the Simple UK license. Click away from it and it flicks straight back to 360. Why? Because we've used the, I know why, it's because we've used the demo file, which is for a different, oh, hold on, here we go, which is for a different, okay, so it's 300 to 360. Okay, it doesn't really matter what frequency we're using. We're not going to transmit, so it's fine. So we'll put that on, that's why it was not working, but we'll put that on, I don't know, 350 megs, and let's assume that we just copy that over to there. Now, the things that matter the most here is the contact. You'll see that, if you remember, we're still on channel 1 here. The contact has to be group 1. Emergency system we'll revisit in a future video. We'll leave that at none for now. And the power we'll set to high because we want full power. That's it for this. Now imagine that Ofcom have only given us one frequency. It wouldn't be 350, it'd be 430 to 470 probably. And we are wanting to create 2 channels out of that. So what we would do is go to list 2 here. So let's just jump back to channel 1 very quickly, and we were group 1, but it was list 1. Now on channel 2, same frequency, but this will be group 2, list 2. Again, high power, but then we leave the color code as 1 and the time slot as 2. Now what's going to happen now is that these 2 channels will absolutely not clash with each other. They're on different time slots, as you can see. Channel 1 is on time slot 1. Channel 2 is on time slot 2. And then they're both on 350 megahertz, as you can see. Oh, and then channel 2 is group 2, list 2. And channel 1 is group 1, list 1. And that is pretty much it. what I would always recommend with a brand new radio is turn your buttons off by setting them as unsigned. When you have found that you actually want to, when you found that you've got a use for your buttons, you've decided that you want whatever on button 1 and whatever on button 2 and whatever on button 3, that's perfectly fine. Set your buttons up then, because it's best practice really to switch that off. MOTOTRBO software in a previous version, no it wasn't, GP340 software, which was a very, 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 very long ago predecessor to these radios, the GP series software had a button map which showed you which one of these buttons are, but these ones actually are pretty good because it shows you that this one is the orange button that's on the top of every radio, this one is the side button that's on the right hand side of every radio, but it's above the push to talk, this one is directly below the push to talk, and this one is below that. These buttons are pretty self-explanatory, I suppose. They're part of it. So if you've got an accessory, for example, if you've got a shoulder mic or remote speaker microphone, they may have some utility buttons or accessory buttons on them, and then the one-touch access we will cover in a future video. For now, that pretty much gets you going. So if we'll just recap, every radio must have its own individual radio ID. Every single radio. You can call the radio whatever you want, unless it's got a screen, nothing's going to come up anyway. And even if it's got a screen, that doesn't come up on the screen. Then in our channels, we have got information that directly correlates to what's here. So channel 1 directly correlates to group 1, which is there. We gave it a group ID of 1. Channel 2 directly correlates to group 2, which you can see is there, and that's got a group ID of 2. Of course, they can be whatever you want them to be, those IDs, it doesn't matter. But it's equally as important that when the channel is set up, that the group RX group lists are also set right, so that list 1 only accepts calls from group 1, and list 2 only accepts calls from group 2. And that's pretty much it. So if you had your radio plugged in right now, you could just write your radio. I would always say, don't use these sample files. I'm just using this for the purposes of a tutorial. Please don't use these sample files at all. Use them for practicing, that's fine, because you can't really break anything in them. But always, when you get a new radio, always click the read button and get an actual copy of the original code plug from your radio. Very important that, and save it, for goodness sake. We have a fantastic facility here, which most software does. It's the save facility. Please use it. The amount of customers who've rang us up over the last few years and said, "Oh yeah, well I didn't save the file or whatever," and worse still, if they put a password on it, which some people do for some reason. And if you go to view, and again, expert mode, so the password facility is in general settings. Excuse me. Where are you? Is it not in there? Is it in there? I don't know. We don't use it as a business generally, unless a customer specific. Here it is. So if you put a code plug password on it, and you type, I don't know, PASS or whatever, password, I'll just type pass in there, just for reference. And then they like, oh, I didn't save my file. I put a password on it. I've completely forgotten the password. You can no longer read it. Then you've got to wipe the radio completely clean and start from scratch. So it really is important that you save. To write the radio, obviously always read your own radio and make changes to your own code plug. Save the file first. Once you've made changes, click save as. So you save it as a newer file name or whatever, and then click write. If you want to write another radio that is identical, and it's very important this, you can write the code plug from any UHF DP4400 to any other UHF DP4400. However, you can't write a code plug from a DP4400 to any other radio, including a DP4400E or any other radio for that matter. They all individually have their own code plugs. You can copy and paste certain things. For example, you know, you could right click on there and click copy, and then, you know, right click on there and click paste, and it just add it as another. It's got the same attributes as you can see, but it'll give it a new name. But anyway, you know, and you can, there's certain things that you can copy and paste, but other than that, if you buy two different types of radios, you're going to be writing two different types of programming file or code plug, as Motorola call it. So I would say that unless you absolutely have to, stick to the same radios, because otherwise you're going to find yourself writing multiple code plugs, which is absolutely nobody's idea of fun. So anyway, so that's that. That's the very, very basic programming tutorial. I think we've covered everything, the basics wise. But again, I want to bring you back to our site, because I was saying that, you know, we've got this fantastic page. Come and read it and have a. I'll put a link in the video description. If you've got any comments at all, please do comment on the video. Subscribe to our channel. Hit the little bell icon, and then it'll send you it'll actually send you an email, or YouTube will send you an email whenever we post new videos, which is getting quite frequently. I mean, we're posting quite a lot now. It's all interesting radio related stuff, what we think it's interesting. I'm sure you must agree if you're watching this video. But do keep your eye on our pages on our site. I showed you the 4400 earlier. Again, the 4801E accessories. We have a massive selection of accessories here. And if you do want a programming cable, you know, check out that one, because it really is quite good. You know, if you want the Motorola one, that's cool. You know, we stock that one too. And again, if you do buy a radio from us, we will give you the software for free. And that, whether you're a business or a radio ham or just an enthusiast or just some, you know, a person who's just into radios, like I said, an enthusiast or whatever, that's fine. We don't mind. We deal with pretty much everybody. We're fine with that. It's all good. You know, so I'd say that keep your eye on our website, and if you need any help, our telephone number is at the top of every single page. We are open from 9:30 AM to 5 PM every weekday, and there's always someone at the end of the phone who can give you a little bit of advice, or, you know, if you're not don't know quite what the right product would be for you, give us a call. Our guys are really friendly, and we're really, you know, we know we're quite well trained. So we, you know, if you're not quite, you don't really know what you should get, but you know it's a MOTOTRBO, or you know it's a DMR, or you know you've just heard the word DMR and you're thinking, my goodness, what is this DMR thing? Just ring us up. We'll explain it to you. Other than that, I think we're pretty much done. If you've got any questions or any comments, please comment in the comments below. I'll put all the links to all the pages I've been on, including a link to download the code plug, which I had opened just then, which will only work in MOTOTRBO version 14 and above, by the way. But if you need anything else, feel free to leave a comment or send us an email, or the phone number's there. That's all for today.